Good day, I'm Theodore Henry, and this is your JIS News for Tuesday, January 19. The National Identification System, NIDS, will be the most secure card ever seen in Jamaica. That's the promise being made by the state as it initiates a new NIDS bill.
This NIDS bill is beneficial to every citizen. It will be a game changer to allow the citizens to access the services of government and of the private sector.
Minister Delroy Chuck, who chairs the Joint Select Committee of Parliament dealing with the bill, was speaking at the first of 6 virtual town hall meetings to educate Jamaicans on the NIDS. The National Identification System aims to provide easier access to private and public services. NIDS Program Director Warren Vernon says the system will also improve the detection of identity fraud. He reveals that there are more than 2,000 cases of identification theft at the Passport Office, over 400 at the Ministry of National Security, and over 1,000 cases at the Registrar General's Department. To help reduce those instances, he says there will be about 8 levels of vetting that will take place in the production of NIDS.
Your birth certificate information will be stored separately from your fingerprints and facial image. Your fingerprints will be kept offline encrypted, meaning that it will be very difficult, almost impossible for anyone to be able to access that data. Once identity information is verified, the owner of the identity must be notified. That is built in the system, and the logs are protected by blockchain, meaning that irrespective of your rank within an organization, you can't delete those logs. Similar to your bank account, whenever you take money from your account, you can log in and you will see all of those. The same thing will happen.
Persons are being urged to read the NIDS bill and send their comments to the Joint Select Committee of Parliament, which will begin deliberations on the legislation in February. Meanwhile, persons may be fined up to $3 million for unlawfully accessing or misusing information provided for the National Identification System, NIDS. Justice Minister Delroy Chuck made the disclosure Thursday during the second of 6 virtual town hall meetings on the National Identification and Registration Act 2020. In addition to the prison time and/or a fine, Minister Chuck is expressing confidence that safeguards are in place to secure Jamaicans' identity.
The likelihood of someone stealing the card and using the card is literally zero.
Yes.
Because if they try to use the card, anyone can see this is not your card. And in fact, the Section 16 imposes a duty on persons who get into possession of a card that doesn't belong to him or her to return it to the authority.
The legislation makes provision for a voluntary and secure national identification system for Jamaica. The layered rollout and management of the NIDS will be handled by a new agency, the National Identification and Registration Authority, which will replace the Registrar General's Department and provide more enhanced services. The Ministry of National Security says between December 1 last year and January 12, the police have seized 103 illegal guns and 1,208 rounds of ammunition. Portfolio Minister Dr. Horace Chang says there was a 52% increase in the seizure of illegal firearms for December 2020 when compared to the same period in 2019. Meanwhile, the 41 illegal guns seized during the period January 1 to 12 this year reflect an increase of 116% when compared to the 19 seizures over the corresponding days in January last year. Dr. Chang says the operations are attributed to the Give Up the Guns campaign, which encourages citizens to provide information about illegal firearms and ammunition to Crime Stop. He says the illicit trade and sale of firearms by gangsters is still the #1 challenge for law enforcement. However, with continued help of citizens, Dr. Chang says the security forces will continue to disrupt gangs and reduce their capacity to unleash violence in our society. Persons with information are being asked to call Crime Stop at 311 or toll-free 888-991-4000 or the police emergency number 119. 475 new housing units will soon be available under the Catherine Estates housing development in the Bernard Lodge area of the parish. Phase 1 of the Housing Agency of Jamaica HAJ development will be ready by the end of March. The project will provide 850 duplex studio units and 800 detached one-bedroom starter homes with areas for expansion. Managing Director of the HAJ, Gary Howell, says they will cost between $6 and $7 million, which fall within the NHT price band.
This will make it much more attractive, and a single person can afford a home without too much of a burden. These are the type of projects that we are looking at trying to get out, because we recognize that here the market is lagging significantly behind, and that is really what many persons can afford.
The Catherine Estate housing development is to be completed over a 4-year period, providing 1,650 housing solutions at a cost of $9.5 billion. It forms part of the Greater Bernard Lodge Development Master Plan, which includes land set aside for agriculture, housing, commercial activities, and community life. Over $10 million has been spent to prevent educational loss induced by the global COVID-19 pandemic within the West Kingston constituency. Member of Parliament for the area, Minister Desmond McKenzie, says the expenditure has come from the Constituency Development Fund and other avenues. It includes financial support to schools and scholarships for tertiary students as part of initiatives to ensure no child is left behind.
The constituency that prides itself in ensuring that education is the pillar on which we build the future.
Minister McKenzie made the disclosure at a recent function to hand over tablet computers to students from the constituency from a private entity. And finally, 1,200 meals are being provided daily to members of the homeless community in Kingston. These meals are prepared at the Soup Kitchen, which was opened on Church Street recently. Deputy Mayor of Kingston, Winston Ennis, says the feeding program complements several initiatives implemented in the city to assist the homeless. A night shelter is located at the same location as the Soup Kitchen, as well as other periodic meal programs on the streets of the corporate area.
Our city has become much more compassionate and kind towards the vulnerable among us.
In conjunction with those plans, construction is to resume this year on an adult transitional center, which will be a temporary home for the vulnerable. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Theodore Henry. Thanks for watching.